Before this video begins, I want to give a huge shout out to my supporters, Logan XD, Googly Woogly Woo, Flash, Feedin' the Kitty, and Egan. Thank you guys so much, it means the world to me. And now, on to the video. Welcome back to another video. This week, I wanted to start off by trying to make my own shader without any tutorials. So what I wanted to do is make sort of a icy glitter shader. So it's kind of hard to see, but if you look at the white speckles on some of the objects, they kind of sparkle as I move the camera around. There's still a lot of work I gotta do on it, but I can show you what I've got so far in terms of the shader graph. So basically how I achieved that was I took the view direction. So this basically makes sort of like a gradient output depending on which way the camera or the view is looking. And I take the red channel from that and put it into a sine wave. And basically what that does is it makes a bunch of stripes that go vertically up and down, and then another one from the green channel, which makes them go horizontal. And this is just to make them bigger or smaller. And I multiply them together, which creates this sort of checkered pattern. And we can actually take a look at this if we put it in the texture slot. So that kind of gives you an idea of what those nodes do. So it makes a black and white checker pattern as I move the camera around. And this is just the regular texture. But what I do with this checker pattern is I take a special texture made up of red and green spots, and I take the red channel from this and the green channel, and I interpolate it by the checker pattern. But before I put the checker pattern in here, I remap it so that the values only go between 0.5 and 1. And the reason for this is if the value is 0, it'll like have a negative emission, so it'll kind of make black spots. And so if I put it to 0.5, if the value is 0.5, then it'll just be invisible. And if it's 1, then it'll have this this white glow, I guess. And so I interpolate between the red speckles and the green speckles. And then I multiply it here to make it more intense. And then I feed that into the emission channel. I guess I could also put it in the metallic channel, but it doesn't make that much of a difference. Basically, that's how it works right now. I think one of the problems is like the closer I get, the less the effect kind of shows, because when I'm close up on an object, the checker pattern kind of gets bigger with the object. So if I put this back in here and save it, as you zoom in, the checker boxes get bigger, so then the effect kind of like you need to move the camera more for the effect to actually happen. So I need to figure out how to make the checker pattern kind of scale as you get closer to the object. And also I need to figure out how to make it so the popping in and out of the sparkles is more visible. Because like right now it's just a very subtle effect. But that was basically my Monday. I might keep working on this throughout the week. I also need to fix the problem with the clothing menu. I figured out it's because when you collect a clothing item, it doesn't update the menu. So it's supposed to create a new slot with that item in it, but there's no functionality for that yet. So I'll probably do that later on in the week, but I kind of want to keep working on this shader for Tuesday. This Tuesday, I made a lot of progress on the ice shader that I'm making. So if we take a look at this, as I move the screen, you can see the sparkles are very sparkly. And you can also tell I added a bit of a Fresnel effect around the edges. And I think it looks really good now. And we can take a look at the changes I made to get to where I am. So the whole thing with the checker pattern, the pattern was like too uniform, so you could kind of like, you could tell that there was like a checker pattern in the glitter sparkles, I guess. So instead, I still have the view direction, and I made a gradient noise for one for each of the channels for green and red. And the green channel, the noise is inverted. So you can see I've added a smooth step to make it more contrasty. And then I took my glitter texture, put the red channel into this side and the green channel into this side, and then added them together, and then the sparkle intensity multiplier, and then I fed that into the metallic and smoothness, and then for the emission I added the sparkles to the Fresnel and put them into emission, and then the texture just goes right into the albedo channel. But it's a little bit simpler than the checker pattern thing. I think I was kind of overthinking it, but this definitely has a way nicer look. We can take a look at it in game. Take a look around, you can see the sparkles appearing and disappearing. Looks really nice. And the Fresnel just adds, I don't know, just makes it look a lot softer and brighter and just better overall. I think it works really well with the water shader that I downloaded. Yeah. Really happy with how it turned out, especially for my first shader that I made with no tutorials. So, oh, and I also want to shout out this guy who he seems to come in clutch for me every time, but he made a video pretty much explaining what every single node does in the shader graph, and I pretty much watched that, and it gave me a lot of insight on what I can use to make shaders like this. So I'll put a link to his video in the description, but it was very helpful if you want to learn how to use shader graph. So I've been trying to go through and update the clothing system so that it's more dynamic, meaning that if I pick up new items, it'll appear in the menu. And I've been trying to fix it. It kind of half works, but there's also a lot of problems. So if I open the menu, there's already an error, which I still don't know what it is. The menu doesn't update quite properly when I first open it, but it still works for the most part. And if I collect new items, they will properly appear in the menu. So at least there's that. But I'll have to work out the kinks next week. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video. It's a bit shorter again. I've been busy with a certain contest, and the contest is almost over, so I've been kind of working a lot on that. But by next week, we'll be back in full swing with working on Arctic's adventure. So thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good weekend. Peace.